quite a bit of progress has been made so far, and this episode will be no exception because we're going to be focusing our efforts on the the bottom left corner of the screen. Usually I don't have this intros planned. I just go with whatever's on my mind, so there. I'm sure you can tell by now that is the case. We're going to be adding just a new section of the city that's going to primarily have contemporary buildings and modern buildings. It's a bit of a mishmash from different countries. We're going to have some Dutch-style buildings, some German-style buildings, and other styles of buildings that are undefined, I think. But you'll see them in a moment. We're going to be making a big expansion here, and also we're going to be adding a lot of detail to the areas that we sort of left blank in the previous episode, primarily the ones along the shores of this river. Now, there's a lot of comments in the previous video about the selection of trams that I could use in the city. Thank you so much for all the suggestions. There's a couple of models that keep repeating over and over and over again, so I might give them a shot. But when I started recording this episode, just want to let you know I took some advice, I guess, from someone on Reddit, not on Reddit, on Twitter. And I just temporarily switched the Catalonian. No, it will be the Barcelonian, even though it's Catalonia. It doesn't matter. I switched the trams that I was using before, the Citatis, with ones from the Melbourne Metro network, if I'm not mistaken. Oh boy, I should have double checked this, but they look really nice. Unfortunately, they don't change with colors. They pretty much have like a branding to it. I do like them. I do like the model, so I might keep them for now. But this model, there's one like old school model that keeps popping up in the comments. I might actually add those two to the mix. I think I agree with many of you. Yeah, I think it will really fit sort of the aesthetic of the city. But I kind of want to sort of define different tram lines with different vehicles. I think the only two lines that we have in the city have different vehicles, and the one that sort of goes through the old town kind of area, I might switch it to that old school sort of tram design that you guys been recommending. But for this area, primarily the area that I'm about to start working on, it's going to be definitely a bit more modern, so I want some of the newer style formations there as well. What else? I thought I had a lot to say, but basically what I'm doing here is I'm extending the land a little bit, and I'm making it, basically I wanted to look a little bit boxy. I obviously started playing around with the idea of having the tram line sort of go at the same level along the shoreline, but that would cause that hill that you see me sort of terraform with the roads right here on the screen. I would have to like bring it down significantly, and I wanted to sort of keep that very visible height difference. So that tram track that you see me do there, it's gone now already. As you can see, it's no longer there. I decided to sort of continue the quays that we put alongside that river / canal that goes through the middle of the city. Though I'm going to change that with some, you'll see. It's a combination of the Ronix ploppable docks and some of these pedestrian paths and so on and so forth. I've been told, by the way, I forgot to mention this. So the now abandonment mod situation that I mentioned in the previous episode, I think it's kind of resolved. I did two things. So I'm not sure which one actually got it working, but first thing I did was unsubscribe to it and resubscribe to it. So that could have been it. I think I read someone on the Steam Workshop say that was a solution to the issue. So I tried that. And then at the same time, when I was loading the game, the previous time I run the save game, I basically try to balance the issue. So the buildings that were getting or becoming abandoned were complaining about worker shortage in terms of education, and also no power and police, something like that. So, I mean, because all these buildings that we sort of extended towards this side of the city, they had no power because, I didn't want to bother adding cables in the middle of the river just temporarily, that will look not great. So since I have a billion different mods that modify the game, why not just also hack the power a little bit? I ended up putting like a power plant hidden in one of these buildings, so don't worry about it. It's totally fine. Actually, it is kind of visible. It's not 100% hidden. So extra credits if you can figure out which one it is. I've actually used it a lot in previous projects, so you might actually recognize it. This, by the way, is what I was saying before, putting down these ducks. These are ploppables, and you can put decals on top and props and things like that. I'm gonna go in greater detail about this in a second. Let me finish this rant about the no abandonment mod. So the other thing that I did, like I was saying, is balance it out. So when I load the save, like there were no abandoned buildings, and I think I generated like 5 or 6 save games for this episode in particular, and I haven't noticed it again, so I'm considering that resolved. So yeah, not done. If you're still having that issue after doing that, I'm not really sure what could be causing it, but that sort of did it for me. All right, so going back to this build, I decided to sort of extend it. What's actually doing all the terraforming is that road. It's sort of pushing the land upwards. And then I went with the terraforming tool and flattened everything out right up against the edge. So that creates a very like steep vertical sort of cliff there that has enough room for a concrete wall, and combined with all these pluggable ducts. And I'm doing my best to sort of extend our existing pathway and have it go under on this like second level. I've been getting a lot of questions, by the way, about or suggestions rather, about doing like a marina style of build. I think I don't want a particular. I think this will look great here, but the problem is it's obviously you can't see it now, but it's kind of on open waters, and marinas are usually like sort of protected by some sort of geography, like a sort of cove or bay, or well, in some cases, like this big marinas in LA, for example, they're protected by jetties that are man-made. So I don't necessarily want to do one of those. I've been actually experimenting with how close I can get a jetty done, because you obviously need a road to raise the terrain over the water, but you want it, like not too wide so that it looks realistic. Ideally, you would like to cover the roads with rocks, so it's just like it looks like a wall of rocks going into the ocean. That's pretty much what it is. Hopefully, I'm making some sense about what I'm saying, and by the time I actually end up taking on that build, it will make more sense. I'll bring this up, explain the whole thing again. That being said, though, as I was working on this area, you really can't tell when you're building it. And I know I mentioned this before, but the terrain differences are actually really high when you think about it, or at least the gaps that I had were really high. So one trick that I've been trying is I've seen someone else do this on YouTube, and I'm sorry, I usually like to give people credit, but I really don't remember who I watched who did this. But this path that I just put there, that's like it basically carves a hole in the ground to like the bottom of the map. And it makes everything sort of invisible, which allows you to sort of overlay props and well, in this case, walls, just to have a much sharper distinction between the upper road and the lower road and the houses underneath. So I'm even putting some like docks that I did for Sinew. I think I ended up removing a few of those, but one still remains at the end of this episode. You'll see it in the semantics. So. But I thought it was an interesting technique, and I think it can yield a lot more results if used in different combinations. So I'm gonna try to come up with clever ideas on how to use that, because it might solve a lot of issues with the terrain and allow you to do more flexible things, if that makes sense. Now, this set of buildings, I kind of have mixed feelings about the concept of this building. So they're all nice. They're like right on the water. Definitely premium property right there, premium real estate. The thing is, and this again will make more sense probably during the cinematics, but the thing is they're all kind of facing each other. So I wanted them to face towards a green space more than the ocean. Like that was the priority, except that the only way I was able to do that is if I put them and have them face, one another. So the front of the building is actually looking inward, and the sides sort of look towards the ocean, which, I think in real life that wouldn't be the case. They will probably all be facing the ocean. That will make some more, profitable property, if that makes any sense. But I'm really liking, I'm doing it for the aesthetics for the most part, and that ticks or checks out that box. So I'm happy with that. Also, there I just tried my luck at doing a bit of a contemporary, like modern man-made plaza with a combination of curves and decals and fountains, which ended up looking pretty good. I'm happy with that one. And here I'm just setting up some boulders because I end up. This is I'm actually curious to hear what you guys have to say about this, because maybe you have a better technique than me. But I end up with a lot of these random triangles or squares in the middle of the city that are not big enough to put anything in them, but they're still pretty big in the sense that, like, okay, this looks like you have not finished this area. So I wasn't too sure on what to do with those. I sort of came up with an idea that you're gonna see in just a few minutes, that sort of turned it into a tiered park sort of system. Again, it will make sense in just a second. But I did want to spend some time adding some details to this tram stop. Probably going to go edit the second one. I haven't, by the time this video is recorded, I haven't added any more details to the other tram stop that sort of shares the same layout. But nothing too crazy, just cobblestone and drains on each end, sort of breaking or having some sort of contrast between the length of the platform. What else? So we have this like multi-tiered situation here. So I decided to put another parking lot. We need parking lots in general, I think. People tend to use them. So even though there's tons of people walking and biking for the most part, and taking the tram, oh my god, like the amount of traffic. I should probably throw in some numbers in future episodes. I really don't know at this time as I'm recording this, but I'll take note of that and tell you, or show you at least on camera, how many people are actually using mass transit, because it's significant. There is an amount that's not to be ignored. Also surrounding some of these buildings with fences. This is kind of what I was saying before. These are the ones that sort of look at each other but not towards the water. I'm guessing, like, in my mind, like, if I really need to explain why that was that way, it's because, like, maybe the living room looks towards the courtyard while the bedrooms look towards the water. You want to wake up and see the ocean or the sunset or whatever, or sunset, or I guess you wouldn't wake up at sunset, but the sunrise. Let's just leave it at that. And this here, by the way, this lower part, I just kind of went a little bit crazy with these docks. They look a little bit empty, but I've been just looking at some Google Maps from Sweden and from Finland primarily for ideas, and they tend to be just like concrete and a couple benches, trash cans, couple lamps, and that's it. It doesn't have a whole lot. Obviously, the floor itself has a ton of texture because you really can't realistically recreate that in game, but it has enough detail that it looks more detailed, at least in Google Maps, compared to the game. But again, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. One more thing that I forgot to mention is I don't know if we'll be able to see it here, but it's kind of like nearby. I added a whole bunch of like tiny roundabouts, and I put this prop in the middle, this like sort of traffic circle prop that has arrows, and they're pointing the wrong way, and the wrong way meaning left-hand driving. I'm not saying that's the wrong way. Well, all I'm saying is that was the only asset that I could find that fits in a tiny roundabout. You can see it at the top of the screen. Oh, never mind, too fast. Okay, you can see it on the right. Never mind, too fast. Okay, it's on the screen right now. I'm gonna be quiet. But it looks great. It's like super tiny. It's detailed. It's perfect, except the arrows point the wrong way. So whenever I end up in situations like that, I tend to go for the eye candy stuff first, and then the functional stuff. Ideally, I would tick both boxes when I want to try to build a thing. In this case, I wasn't able to. So if you can recommend me a better tiny roundabout in the workshop, please add the link in the comments section down below this video. And this is it. This is the final build of the episode. Me putting down these like sort of modern parks. I'm using basically I'm cloning these stairs that I wish that they were square. They will look a little bit more aligned with one another. But that wasn't the case. But, you know, the randomness of it also doesn't look terribly bad, so I decided to leave them there. And just decorating the final touches of this empty wall that was very visible with some vines that sort of grow from the top. And here you go, the much awaited before and after shots. I ended up creating a longer clip this time. I had some issues with the one in the previous episode, so I ended up coming too quick. You couldn't really see a whole lot, but I mean, look at this hill on the left of the screen. It's gone, kind of. I mean, there's just covered in buildings of all kinds. I'm really excited. This is like one of my favorite episodes so far. I think that came out fan-freaking-tastic, and I can't wait to keep expanding the city in the back. If you enjoyed this episode as well, please consider giving this video a like. That's very much appreciated. Also, I would like to ask you, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. That way you're notified. I don't really have to repeat that every episode, but I end up doing it anyways. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.